I should have panicked. That's what most people would have done, woken her up, demanded answers, let anger or fear dictate the next 12 hours. But when my phone lit up at 2:47 a.m. with Vanessa's name flashing across the screen, something in my gut told me to stay quiet. Maybe it was the timing. Maybe it was the way my girlfriend Mira was sleeping peacefully beside me, her breathing steady and unhurried. Or maybe it was just instinct. I slipped out of bed and answered in the hallway. Adrian. Vanessa's voice was shaking, raw with emotion. Adrian, God, I'm so sorry. I didn't want to do this. I've been sick over it for days. Vanessa. What's wrong? I kept my voice low, controlled. It's Mira. A sob broke through. She's been lying to you. I can't keep covering for her anymore. I love her like a sister, but you deserve to know the truth. My chest tightened, but I didn't interrupt. She's been seeing someone else. I have proof. I took photos because I thought if I showed you, maybe you could fix things before it got worse. Her words tumbled out in a rush of apparent guilt and anguish. I'm sending them now. I'm so sorry. My phone buzzed repeatedly. 6 photos loaded in succession. Mira in a restaurant booth, leaning close to a man with dark hair. His hand on her knee. Another photo, them leaving together, his arm around her waist. A third, standing outside what looked like an apartment building, her hand on his chest. The last 3 showed similar intimacy, undeniable physical closeness, private moments that shouldn't exist if someone was faithful. I stared at the images for 30 seconds that felt like 30 minutes. Adrian. Are you there? Yeah. My voice came out steady, almost eerily so. Thank you for telling me. I know this couldn't have been easy for you. I've been torturing myself over whether to say anything, Vanessa continued, her crying intensifying. But you've been so good to her, and she's just throwing it away. I couldn't watch it anymore. I appreciate you looking out for me, I said quietly. Can we talk more tomorrow? I need to process this. Of course. I'm here for you, whatever you need. And Adrian. Please don't tell her I told you. Not yet. She'll just deny everything. Understood. I ended the call and stood in the dark hallway, phone still glowing in my hand. Through the bedroom door, I could hear Mira shift slightly in her sleep. Every instinct screamed at me to wake her, to demand explanations, to let the fear and betrayal consume the moment. Instead, I opened the photos again and looked closer. I didn't sleep. By 6 a.m., I'd examined every pixel of those 6 photos at least 20 times. The first inconsistency was subtle, Mira's hair. In the photos, it fell just past her shoulders in loose waves with blonde highlights I'd never seen. For the entire 18 months we'd been together, she'd kept her hair longer, darker, with no highlights at all. I scrolled through my own phone gallery, every photo of her showed the same shoulder blade length brown hair she wore now. The second detail was her nails. In Vanessa's photos, they were short and unpainted. Mira had worn acrylics for as long as I'd known her, a habit she mentioned started 3 years ago after a friend introduced her to a nail artist she loved. Then there was her style. The outfit in the restaurant photo, a crop top with high-waisted jeans, wasn't something I'd ever seen her wear. Mira's wardrobe leaned toward flowing dresses and tailored blazers. She'd told me once that she grew out of the crop top phase in her early 20s. But the real breakthrough came when I examined the metadata. The photos were taken in March and April 4 years ago. 4 years. I met Mira 18 months ago at a colleague's wedding. Before me, she'd been in a 3-year relationship with someone named Derek that ended badly, something she'd been open about from the start. I pulled up her Instagram, scrolling back to posts from that time frame. There it was, the same blonde highlights, the same shorter hair, photos with a dark-haired man tagged as Derek. The backgrounds matched too. That restaurant booth. That apartment building. These weren't photos of an affair. They were photos of her previous relationship, taken by someone who'd been there to witness it firsthand. Vanessa had been there. I spent Saturday morning alone while Mira went to her yoga class. My laptop open, coffee going cold, I fell down a rabbit hole I wasn't prepared for. Vanessa's social media presence was meticulously curated, travel photos, brunch spreads, inspirational quotes about self-love and boundaries. But when I dug into her archived posts, older content she'd hidden from her main grid, a different pattern emerged. From 5 years ago, when she and Mira first became close, sometimes the people who deserve your heart the most can't see what's right in front of them. 3.5 years ago, around when Mira started dating Derek, watching someone you love choose someone who doesn't deserve them is its own special kind of torture. 2 years ago, after Mira and Derek broke up, when timing is everything and everything is wrong. 1 year ago, just before Mira and I met, some people spend their whole lives waiting for someone to see them. Really see them. The quotes alone could have been coincidental. But then I found the photos, dozens of them featuring Mira and Vanessa together, spanning years. In the early ones, Vanessa's smile was open and genuine. As time went on, especially after Derek appeared, something shifted. Her smiles became tighter. Her body language in group photos showed her angling toward Mira even when Mira was turned toward someone else. Comments on Mira's posts were another story. Under photos of Mira and Derek, Vanessa would write things like, "You deserve better," or, "He better know how lucky he is." Under solo shots of Mira, her comments were effusive, "Absolute perfection, how is someone this beautiful even real, I'd be lost without you in my life." I found a blog post from 3 years ago. Vanessa had briefly maintained a personal writing blog that she'd since deleted, but the Wayback Machine never forgets. The post was titled, "Loving Someone Who Doesn't Love You Back." There's a unique agony in loving someone who sees you as safe, as constant, as the friend who will always be there, while they give their heart to people who break it. You watch them cry over someone who doesn't value them, and you think, I would never make you cry. I would cherish every moment. But they don't see you that way. They never will. And the worst part is, you can't even be angry, because how do you resent someone for not feeling something they simply don't feel? So you stay. You watch. You hope that maybe, someday, timing will shift in your favor. The post had no names, but the timing aligned perfectly with Derek and Myra's relationship. And Vanessa had tagged it with, #unrequited love, #hopeless, #bestfriend. I sat back, my heart hammering. This wasn't just jealousy. This was years of calculated proximity, of watching and waiting, of hoping that every failed relationship would somehow lead Mira back to her. And now she tried to make that happen by force. Mira came home around noon, her yoga mat slung over her shoulder, cheeks flushed from exercise. She looked so completely at peace that I almost lost my nerve. "Hey, you." She kissed my cheek. "You've been glued to that laptop all morning. Everything okay? Can we talk?" I closed the computer. "It's important." Her smile faded. She set down her mat and sat across from me at the kitchen table. "You're scaring me." "What's going on?" "Vanessa called me last night. At almost 3 a.m. Myra's eyebrows drew together. "Vanessa. Why?" "She told me you were cheating on me. She sent photos as proof." The color drained from Myra's face. "What? Adrian, that's insane. I would never." "I know." I reached across the table and took her hand. "I know you're not cheating, Mira. But I need to show you something." I pulled up the photos on my phone and handed it to her. She scrolled through them, her confusion giving way to recognition, then shock. These are from when I was with Derek." Her voice was barely a whisper. "These are 4 years old. The metadata confirms it. March and April, 4 years ago." She looked up at me, her eyes filling with tears. "I don't understand. Why would Vanessa send you old photos and claim I was cheating? That doesn't make any sense. There's more." I opened my laptop and turned it toward her. I spent the morning looking into things. Vanessa's old posts, her comments on your photos, a blog post she wrote. "Mira, I think Vanessa has been in love with you for years." I walked her through everything I'd found, the quotes, the blog post, the timeline of her online behavior, the way her comments shifted when you started dating people. Myra's hands were shaking as she read the blog entry. "Oh my God." The words came out choked. "Oh my God, I never saw it. We've been best friends since college. She never said anything. She dated people too. How did I miss this?" She hid it well, I said gently. And maybe she didn't fully acknowledge it to herself for a long time. But Mira, think about it, who took these photos? Her eyes widened. We went to that restaurant together. It was a double date, me and Derek, Vanessa, and some guy she was seeing. She was the one who. Mira covered her mouth. She took these photos. She took photos of me and Derek on our dates and kept them for years. And now she's weaponized them, I said. She tried to blow up our relationship by making me think you were unfaithful. She probably hoped I'd leave you, and eventually, in your vulnerability, she could finally tell you how she felt. Mira stood abruptly, pacing the kitchen. This is insane. This is absolutely insane. Vanessa has been my closest friend for almost a decade. She was there for me through the Derek breakup. She helped me move apartments. Her voice cracked. How could she do this? I stood and wrapped my arms around her. She buried her face in my chest and sobbed, not just for the betrayal, but for the loss of a friendship she thought was real. What do we do now? She asked after a long moment. We confront her, I said. But carefully. I have an idea. I texted Vanessa that afternoon, can we meet tomorrow? I want to talk about what you told me. Coffee at Greystone at 2 p.m. She responded within minutes, of course. I'm here for you. See you then. Mira and I spent the rest of Saturday preparing. We rehearsed the conversation. I reminded her to stay hidden until the right moment. She practiced keeping her emotions in check. This had to be methodical, not combustible. Sunday arrived with deceptive normalcy. Greystone Cafe was busy with the weekend crowd, the hum of conversation and espresso machines providing the perfect cover. I arrived early and chose a corner table where Mira could position herself nearby, partially obscured by a bookshelf but close enough to hear everything. Vanessa walked in at exactly 2 p.m., wearing concern like a costume. She spotted me and hurried over, her expression somber. Adrian. She sat down across from me and reached for my hand. I let her take it. How are you holding up? Honestly. I'm devastated, I said, letting my voice crack slightly. I've been going over everything in my head, trying to figure out where I went wrong. You didn't do anything wrong, she said quickly. This is all on Mira. Some people they're not capable of being faithful. I want to believe there's an explanation, I continued. But those photos, they're pretty damning. Vanessa nodded sympathetically. I know this is hard to accept. But you deserve someone who values you. Someone who sees what they have and doesn't throw it away. Can you tell me more about what you saw? When did this start? She leaned in, warming to the narrative. I noticed her acting strange about 2 months ago. She'd get texts and smile at her phone, then put it away quickly when I asked who it was. Then I saw her meeting this guy, the one in the photos, at that restaurant. I followed them a few times because I wanted to be sure before I said anything. 2 months ago, I repeated. And you saw them at Romano's? That Italian place? Yes, exactly. She told you she was working late, didn't she? Actually, 2 months ago, Mira and I were in Portugal, I said calmly. I have the plane tickets, hotel reservation, and about 200 photos to prove it. Vanessa's face froze. Maybe I got the timeline wrong. And Romano's closed 8 months ago, I continued. There's a sushi restaurant there now. Easy mistake to make if you haven't been to that neighborhood recently. Her hand slipped from mine. Adrian, I think you're confused. Let's talk about the photos themselves. I pulled out my phone and opened them. This man she's with, what did you say his name was? I don't know his name. I just saw them together. Interesting. Because his name is Derek. And these photos are 4 years old. I turned the phone toward her. You took these photos, Vanessa. On double dates. Back when you and Mira were both in your early 20s. The color drained from her face. You're twisting things. The metadata doesn't lie. March 14th, 4 years ago. April 2nd, 4 years ago. I can show you the technical details if you'd like. Fine. Her voice rose sharply, drawing glances from nearby tables. Fine, they're old photos. But that doesn't change the fact that Mira is capable of cheating. I was trying to warn you about the kind of person she is. The kind of person she is. I kept my voice level. Or the kind of person you wanted me to believe she is. You don't understand. I found your blog post, Vanessa. The one about unrequited love. I read your archived Instagram posts. All those quotes about timing and watching someone choose the wrong person. I paused. You're in love with her. You have been for years. Vanessa's eyes widened, genuine panic flashing across her face. That's ridiculous. You tried to destroy our relationship because you thought that if I left her, eventually she'd turn to you. That's why you kept these photos for 4 years. You were waiting for the right moment to use them. That's not true. She stood abruptly, her chair scraping loudly. You're paranoid. You're controlling. This is exactly the kind of manipulation Mira needs protection from. Is it? Myra's voice cut through the cafe noise like a blade. She stepped out from behind the bookshelf, phone in hand, recording light still on. Vanessa went absolutely rigid. Mira. I can explain. You just did, Mira said quietly. I heard everything. Adrian and I both heard everything. You don't understand, Vanessa's voice turned desperate. I was trying to protect you. He's not right for you. I know you better than anyone. We're supposed to be. Supposed to be what? Myra's hands were shaking, but her voice stayed firm. Together. Vanessa, I have never, ever given you any indication that I saw you as anything other than a friend. Because you were always with the wrong people. Vanessa's composure shattered completely. Derek was garbage. He didn't appreciate you. And now Adrian, he's so controlling, investigating everything, turning you against me. He saved our relationship, Mira interrupted. He could have confronted me in anger at 3 a.m. based on your lies. He could have left me without asking questions. Instead, he looked for the truth. That's not control, Vanessa. That's trust. That's respect. That's everything you tried to destroy. I love you. The words burst out of Vanessa like a confession and an accusation all at once. I have loved you for 8 years. I've watched you give your heart to people who didn't deserve it. I've been there for every breakup, every disappointment. I've earned the right to. You've earned nothing, Mira said, and I heard her voice break. Love isn't something you earn by collecting suffering points. You don't get to sabotage my life and call it devotion. I was willing to wait, Vanessa whispered. I thought eventually you'd see. I see you now, Mira said. I see exactly who you are. And I want you to leave. I want you out of my life completely. Mira, please. Leave. Now. Vanessa looked between us, her face crumpling. Then she turned and fled the cafe, nearly knocking over a table in her rush to escape. Mira stood frozen for a moment before her legs gave out. I caught her, guiding her into the chair Vanessa had abandoned. She was shaking violently, silent tears streaming down her face. 8 years, she whispered. 8 years of friendship, and it was all, what? A long game. A patient hunt. I don't know, I admitted. Maybe it started real and became something else. Maybe she didn't even understand her own feelings until it was too late to be honest about them. She took photos of me and Derek, Mira said numbly. She kept them for years. She watched me be happy with someone and documented it like evidence for a future crime. She looked up at me. What kind of person does that? Someone in a lot of pain, I said carefully. That doesn't excuse it. But obsession can twist people into versions of themselves they wouldn't recognize. I feel so stupid. How did I not see it? Because you're not supposed to interrogate your friends' motives, I said. You're supposed to trust them. She exploited that trust. We sat in the cafe for another hour, talking through everything, processing the surreal nightmare we'd just lived through. Eventually, we went home, exhausted but united. Vanessa didn't go quietly into the night. By Monday morning, our mutual friends were receiving messages from her, carefully crafted narratives about how Adrian was isolating me, how he'd manipulated me into believing lies about my best friend, how she was worried for my safety. She posted vague statements on social media about toxic relationships and watching someone you love be controlled. It was a calculated move, and it almost worked. 2 of our friends reached out to Mira with concern, asking if everything was okay at home, if I was treating her well. That's when we released the recording. We didn't post it publicly, neither of us wanted that kind of spectacle. But we sent the full audio to the handful of people Vanessa had contacted, along with screenshots of the metadata from the photos and a timeline of events. The silence that followed was deafening. One by one, our friends reached out with apologies and shock. Someone forwarded us messages from a group chat where Vanessa was actively trying to recruit people to intervene and help Mira see reason. The truth spread quickly through our social circle. Vanessa's narrative collapsed under the weight of evidence. Some people felt betrayed, she'd been friendly with many of them for years. Others felt pity. Most just felt deeply uncomfortable about the whole situation. Vanessa deactivated her social media accounts by Wednesday. 3 weeks later, I was grabbing lunch near my office when I saw her. Vanessa was standing outside the building where Mira worked, clearly waiting. When she saw me approaching, something flickered across her face: recognition, regret, defiance, all tangled together. "Adrian." She stepped toward me. "I know you probably don't want to talk to me." "You're right. I don't. And you need to leave. Please, just let me explain. I never meant to hurt anyone. I was just..." She took a shaky breath. "I was just in love. You can't choose who you love. You can't control it." "No, but you can control what you do about it," I said. "You chose manipulation. You chose to try to destroy something real because you wanted it for yourself." "I made a mistake," she whispered. "I know that now. But I've lost everything. I lost Mira, I lost all our friends. Isn't that punishment enough?" "This isn't about punishment. This is about consequences. Can you at least tell her I'm sorry? That I never wanted?" "No." Myra's voice came from behind me. She'd come outside for lunch, seen us, and approached. "No, Adrian isn't your messenger, and I'm not interested in your apology." Vanessa's eyes filled with tears. "Mira, please. I know I messed up, but we've been friends for so long. Doesn't that count for something?" "It would have," Mira said quietly. "If you'd been honest. If you'd told me how you felt and respected my answer. But you weren't honest. You were patient. You were calculating. And when you finally made your move, it wasn't a confession, it was sabotage. I was just in love." "Love doesn't try to destroy the person it claims to cherish," Mira cut her off. "What you felt might have started as love, but what you did was something else entirely. And I don't want it anywhere near my life. So that's it." Vanessa's voice turned bitter. "He gets to keep you, and I get nothing." "He doesn't keep me," Mira said sharply. "I'm not a prize to be won or lost. I'm a person who made a choice. I chose him because he trusts me, respects me, and proved it when it mattered most. You had 8 years to be honest with me. Instead, you waited for the perfect moment to lie." Vanessa stood there, visibly struggling with emotions I couldn't begin to untangle. Finally, she turned and walked away without another word. Mira watched her go, her jaw tight. Then she turned to me and exhaled slowly. "You okay?" I asked. "No," she admitted. "But I will be." We grabbed lunch together, sitting in the small park near her office. For a while, neither of us spoke. Then Mira said quietly, "I keep thinking about all the times she was there for me. After Derek, when I was a mess, she let me stay at her place for a week. She helped me study for my certification exam. She was my maid of honor at my sister's wedding." She paused. "Were those things real? Or was all of it just investment?" "I think they were real," I said after a moment. "I think she genuinely cared about you. But somewhere along the way, caring became wanting, and wanting became needing, and needing became justifying whatever it took. People can hold contradictory truths. She probably loved you as a friend and wanted you as something more, and couldn't reconcile those things. That doesn't make it hurt less. No. It doesn't. We finished our lunch in comfortable silence. That evening, Mira went through her apartment and gathered everything Vanessa had ever given her: birthday cards, a necklace, photos from trips they'd taken together. She put it all in a box and stored it in the back of her closet. "I'm not ready to throw it away," she explained. "Those memories were real to me, even if her motivations weren't pure. I need time to figure out what to do with them." I understood. Grief is complicated, especially when you're mourning someone who's still alive but no longer allowed in your life. Months passed. The immediate crisis faded into memory, though its lessons remained sharp. Mira started therapy to process the betrayal and the loss. She talked about trust, about the difference between healthy vulnerability and blind faith. She learned to honor both the friendship she thought she had and the reality of what it had become. We grew closer, not because trauma bonded us, but because we'd both demonstrated something fundamental about how we approached challenges. I'd shown restraint and investigation over reactive anger. She'd shown strength and clarity in setting boundaries. Together, we'd proven that truth matters more than comfort. Some of our mutual friends drifted away, uncomfortable with the drama or unsure whose side to take. Others drew closer, acknowledging the complexity and supporting us through it. We learned who our real circle was. One evening, about 6 months after everything unraveled, Mira and I were cooking dinner together when she said, "Thank you." "For what?" "For not waking me up that night. For not confronting me with those photos and demanding explanations while I was half asleep and confused. For trusting me enough to look for truth instead of confirmation." I set down the knife I was using to chop vegetables and turned to face her. "I trusted you because you've never given me a reason not to. The evidence didn't match the person I know." "Still," she said quietly, "a lot of people would have reacted differently. You chose the hard path, investigation over accusation. That saved us." She was right. If I'd woken her at 3 a.m., angry and hurt, demanding she explain photos she didn't remember, everything would have spiraled differently. The conversation would have been defensive, confused, possibly disastrous. By the time the truth emerged, damage might have been irreparable. That's what Vanessa had counted on: emotional explosion over rational examination. "I keep thinking about what she said in the cafe," Mira continued. "About earning the right to your feelings. Like love is transactional. Like suffering through someone else's relationship somehow entitles you to them eventually." "It's a dangerous way to think," I agreed. "It turns friendship into investment, presence into debt." "Real love wants the other person to be happy," Mira said. "Even if that happiness exists somewhere else." That's what I couldn't articulate to her in the moment, but it's what I understand now. She claimed to love me, but she needed me to be unhappy so I'd turn to her. That's not love. That's hunger. I pulled her close. "You know what struck me most? When this all started, I had two choices: believe the evidence and end things, or trust you and investigate. Either choice was a risk. But one honored what we'd built together, and one didn't. You chose us," she said simply. "I chose truth," I corrected. "Which led me back to us." We finished cooking dinner, talking about lighter things: weekend plans, a movie we wanted to see, whether we should finally book that trip to Japan we'd been discussing. The crisis had passed, but its residue remained in the form of deeper understanding. That night, as we cleaned up, Mira paused and looked at me thoughtfully. "I forgive her, you know. Not for her sake, for mine. I don't want to carry around anger about someone who's no longer in my life. But forgiveness doesn't mean reconciliation. Some doors close permanently, and that's okay." I nodded, understanding the distinction. Later, lying in bed, I thought about the whole bizarre nightmare: how a single 3 a.m. phone call could have destroyed everything, how restraint and verification had saved what reaction would have ruined. Vanessa had been half right about one thing: timing is everything. But not in the way she imagined. The timing of my response, the choice to investigate rather than explode, had been the real turning point. The timing of her exposure had revealed not just her manipulation, but the strength of what Mira and I had built together. True love, I realized, doesn't demand the destruction of others to exist. It doesn't require the universe to eliminate all other options until you're the last one standing. It doesn't weaponize concern or disguise obsession as devotion. Real love trusts. It verifies. It asks questions before drawing conclusions. It values the person it loves enough to seek truth over the temporary satisfaction of righteous anger. And sometimes, real love shows up as a 3 a.m. phone call you don't immediately believe, photos you don't immediately accept, and the hard, unglamorous work of looking for facts when emotions are screaming at you to just react. That's the story I carry with me now, not as a tale of betrayal survived, but as a reminder that the person you choose to be in a crisis defines the relationship you'll have after it. We all face moments where we can choose the easy explosion or the difficult investigation. The choice we make echoes long after the moment passes. Mira and I chose truth. We chose trust. We chose each other, not in spite of the test we'd faced, but because of how we faced it together. And in the end, that made all the difference.